It started as a joke, but sometimes the things we laugh at are the very things that come back to haunt us. Have you ever had a moment where you thought, "This can't be real"? Well, that was me. And if I'd known the truth, I wouldn't have laughed. 7 days. That's all he promised me. And I thought it was ridiculous. A prank. A sick, twisted joke that would end with me laughing. But as the clock ticked down, I realized there was nothing funny about it. I never expected anything unusual to happen that night. It was just another typical evening, me at home scrolling mindlessly on my phone. Then he called. His name was Eric, a friend from high school. We'd lost touch over the years, but one night he messaged me on social media. And like all social media conversations, it started casually, catching up, sharing old memories, and eventually joking around. But then the mood shifted. Eric sent me a message that read, "I'll kill you in 7 days." At first, I thought it was just some random nonsense. I mean, who says that, right? It seemed absurd, a joke, a silly prank from someone trying to stir the pot. I laughed. I thought, yeah, Eric, real funny. What a way to reconnect after all these years. But then he replied with something that made the hairs on my neck stand up. "I'm serious, 7 days. And if you laugh again, it'll be worse." I didn't respond, at least not immediately. The next day, I brushed it off. I told myself it was just a joke, something to get attention, maybe even some warped form of a dare. It couldn't be real, right? But then, things started happening. First, I found a message on my phone. "You're going to be alone tonight." I checked the time. It was 2 a.m. I was alone in my apartment, sitting in complete silence. I looked around. Nothing seemed off, but that message. It made the silence feel heavier, and that was only the beginning. By the end of the first day, I had forgotten all about Eric's threat. I was too busy with work, friends, and just living my life. But when I got home, there was a package waiting at my door. It was unmarked, no return address, just a plain brown box. Inside the box was a small black notebook. The pages were blank. But at the very center, there was a single note. Day 1. You're running out of time. I felt a chill run down my spine. A sick laugh bubbled up in my chest, but it died quickly. I tried to rationalize it. A prank, a sick joke, but my gut told me otherwise. Day 2, day 3, day 4. Each day things grew stranger. Messages would appear on my phone, sent at odd hours of the night. The feeling of being watched became inescapable. I'd hear faint footsteps behind me when no one was around. Shadows that seemed to shift at the edge of my vision, and always the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. On day 5, I decided to confront Eric. I called him, and he picked up on the first ring. "Why are you doing this?" I asked, trying to sound tough. His voice was calm, too calm. "Because you laughed. I warned you, but you didn't listen." I felt my heart race. I wanted to hang up, run, get away, but I couldn't. I was frozen. "Do you know what happens on day 7? He asked. I didn't answer. He didn't need me to. I promised, and I always keep my promises. By day 6, it became unbearable. Every night I'd lay awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting for something, anything, to happen. The creeping dread that something was coming, that something was waiting for me, became all-consuming. And then day 7 arrived. I woke up to find my apartment door slightly ajar. The lock was broken. There was no way I could have forgotten to lock it. But I knew this wasn't just a mistake. As I stepped outside, the world felt different. The air was thick with tension, and the silence was suffocating. Then I saw him, Eric, standing across the street, staring at me. I froze. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream, but my body wouldn't respond. Eric raised his hand and pointed at me. 7 days. And now I'm here. In that moment, I realized the truth. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a prank. Eric had been serious the entire time. And when he started walking toward me, my heart stopped. I knew it was too late. But then, just as he reached me, I heard the sound of a car screeching to a halt. A loud crash. And the next thing I knew, Eric was lying on the ground, his eyes wide open, unblinking. I didn't have time to process what happened. I turned and ran as fast as I could, never looking back. Months passed, and life slowly returned to normal. Eric's death was ruled as an accident, a freak car crash. But there was something that always stayed with me, something that would never let me forget the last words he said. I always keep my promises. Because a year later, I found the note. Day 7, you're next. I'm not laughing anymore. What would you do if someone promised to kill you? Would you laugh like I did, or would you take it seriously? Be careful who you joke with. You might just regret it. After the crash, I thought I was free. I thought that Eric's sick game was over, that I could finally breathe again. But even though Eric was gone, something remained. An unsettling feeling, like a shadow that refused to leave my side. The nightmares began. They were always the same. I would wake up, drenched in sweat, but the worst part, I was never alone. I could feel someone watching me from the corner of my room. At first, it was just a silhouette, a shadow standing still, just out of my reach, but every night it got closer. And then the dreams started to change. One night I dreamt that I was walking down a long, dark hallway. The walls were covered in cracked paint, the air stale with dust. I knew something was coming. I could feel it. At the end of the hall, there was a door, slightly ajar. I approached it, my hand trembling as I reached out to push it open. Inside, there was a mirror. The reflection wasn't mine, though. It was Eric. He was standing there grinning at me. His eyes were wide open, unblinking, and his mouth stretched unnaturally wide into a twisted, sinister smile. "You thought I was dead," he whispered, his voice echoing through the empty hall. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body was paralyzed. The reflection of Eric stepped forward as if coming to life from the mirror, and his hand reached out towards me. I woke up with a jolt, my heart pounding in my chest. The room was pitch black. My breath came in quick, shallow gasps. I looked around, half expecting to see Eric standing there in the corner, staring at me with those cold, lifeless eyes. But no one was there. Yet the feeling of being watched never left. Days turned into weeks, and the nightmare never ceased. I started noticing small things, things that didn't make sense. A cup would be moved from one side of the table to the other when I was certain I hadn't touched it. My keys would disappear for hours, only to reappear in places I'd never left them. But it wasn't just the physical signs that scared me. I would receive messages from unknown numbers, messages that were just as cryptic as Eric's. 7 days, wait for it. You can't hide forever. Day 7 never ends. I tried blocking the numbers, but they kept coming, one after another, from different sources. It was as though whoever was sending them knew everything about me. My location, my routines, the things I did every day. There was no escape. Then one night, I did something I should never have done. I decided to face the fear head on. I went to the same mirror from my dream, the one I had seen in that terrifying vision. It was a large, antique mirror I had inherited from my grandmother. I never thought anything of it, until now. I stood in front of it, staring into my own reflection, daring whatever was out there to show itself. At first, nothing happened. My face stared back at me, just like it always had. But then, the edges of the mirror began to darken, slowly at first, but then rapidly. The shadows in the mirror seemed to pulse, as if alive. My reflection began to distort, twisting into something unrecognizable. And that's when I saw him, Eric. He was standing behind me, just like he had been in my dreams. His eyes were wide open, glowing in the darkness, and that same twisted smile spread across his face. I told you I always keep my promises. I spun around, heart racing, but there was no one there, just empty air. I ran out of the room, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The mirror was still there, still reflecting the room, still showing Eric standing behind me. I couldn't escape him. I couldn't escape the reflection that now haunted me every waking moment. A week passed, and I couldn't take it anymore. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating, stopped doing anything but looking over my shoulder, expecting to see Eric at any moment. Finally, I made a decision. I had to end it. I had to stop running from whatever was tormenting me. I drove to the place where it all began. The old abandoned warehouse where Eric and I had spent so many hours in our younger days. I thought that maybe, just maybe, if I confronted whatever was haunting me, it would all end. As I walked through the rusted doors, the memories of our time there flooded back. But there was something else. A presence, a coldness in the air that made my skin crawl. I stood in the center of the warehouse, my heart pounding in my chest, waiting for something to happen. And then I heard it. A whisper. A soft, rasping voice that echoed from the shadows. "You should have laughed, like you did before." I turned toward the voice, but there was nothing there. Just the darkness. And then I saw it, the reflection of Eric, staring at me from the glass of a broken window. His grin stretched wider, his eyes gleaming with madness. "It's not over." Suddenly the ground beneath me cracked open and I fell into a black void. I screamed, but no sound came out, and then everything went black. I woke up in my own bed. The morning light was streaming through the windows. I could hear the faint sound of birds outside, the hum of traffic in the distance. Was it a dream? Had it all been in my head? But then I looked at my phone. There was a new message. From an unknown number. "You should have laughed while you could." The date was the same, 7 days. I didn't laugh this time. Some promises are too deadly to ignore. And when you laugh at them, you might find yourself trapped in a nightmare you can never wake up from. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more chilling tales. And remember, sometimes when you laugh at something, you might be laughing at your own fate.